Can you find a lost ancient city in the Grand Canyon? Yes, the answer is yes. The Grand Canyon has thousands of years of history. Explorers will never see some of it. Some of it is traversed by hikers and explorers every day, and they are unaware of it. But what about history that is purposefully withheld from us? Not necessarily concealed to safeguard historical places, but to conceal history since it will change the history that we have all been taught. Is it even possible? Could the Grand Canyon contain a subterranean Egyptian city? Let's continue to find out more about it, here only on the Unknown Facts. When was the Grand Canyon designated as a national park? There's no denying that Theodore Roosevelt adored the Grand Canyon. He returned multiple times to investigate and enjoy the modern-day region of Lake Powell and the Grand Canyon. He named the Grand Canyon a national monument in 1908, and the Grand Canyon was designated a national park in 1919. Pay careful attention to the dates he gave above because he believes they are important to the narrative I'm going to tell. There is a probability that this is one of the largest cover-ups known in the U.S. throughout the 20th century. I'll tell you the tale. You decide how you feel about it. Explorations in the Grand Canyon begin the story. Mr. Kincaid, a Smithsonian Institute archaeologist, was employed in the early 1900s to find the western states. His journey took him to various locations, but one of them may have revolutionized the way we think about the Grand Canyon and government groups that study history. He began his journey at Green River, Utah on the Colorado River, via the Canyonlands. He was accompanied by a friend and a wooden boat. They intended to float down the Colorado River to Yuma in order to chronicle this previously unknown and uncharted region. There were no man-made constructions like the Lake Powell Dam in 1907. Nature was the only thing standing in their way. What appeared in the Arizona Gazette newspaper on April 5, 1909 was really intriguing to me. The Gazette news piece went on to discuss a forgotten city he found after traveling by the modern-day Lake Powell Dam, after the ancient city was found. The fact that a well-known journal such as the Arizona Gazette published an article about a large and spectacular subterranean Egyptian metropolis buried in the Grand Canyon and then nothing. There were no additional stories, follow-ups, or pieces in other newspapers concerning this. The data had just vanished. You have to wonder why this video was made. Was it another video with no basis or rights, or was it something else entirely? If something doesn't seem to be correct, it usually isn't. He chose to pursue this subject and spent more than 8 years investigating all he could uncover. G.E. Kincaid, the explorer who discovered the great underground citadel of the Grand Canyon during a trip from Green River, Wyoming, down Colorado in a wooden boat to Yuma several months ago, brought to the city yesterday the latest news of the progress of the explorations of what is now regarded by scientists as not only the oldest archaeological discovery in the U.S., but one of the most valuable in the world, which was mentioned some time ago in the Gazette. According to Mr. Kincaid's story, archaeologists from the Smithsonian Institute, which is funding the expeditions, have made discoveries that almost conclusively prove that the race that inhabited this mysterious cavern hewn in solid rock by human hands was of Oriental origin, possibly from Egypt, tracing back to Ramses. If their beliefs are supported by the translation of hieroglyphic engraved tablets, the enigma of North America's prehistoric peoples, their ancient arts, who they were and whence they came, would be explained. Egypt and the Nile, as well as Arizona and Colorado, will be connected by a historical connection stretching back to eras that defy the fictionists' wildest imagination. An extensive investigation. The Smithsonian Institute is presently conducting the most exhaustive investigations, which will continue until the final link in the chain is formed, under a guidance of Professor S.A. Jordan. The lengthy main tube has been explored down almost a mile below, roughly 1,480 feet below the surface, to reveal another huge room from which radiate dozens of passages like the spokes of a wheel. Several hundred chambers have been uncovered, accessible by passages that branch off the main route, one of which has been investigated for 854 feet and another for 634 feet. Recent discoveries include objects that have never been identified as local to this nation, and they were very certainly originated in the Orient. War weapons and sharp-edged copper implements as hard as steel demonstrate the great level of civilization attained by these alien people. The scientists are so fascinated that plans are being made to outfit the camp for lengthy research, and the force will be augmented to 30 or 40 people. The Kincaid Report. Mr. Kincaid was the first white kid born in Idaho and had spent his whole life as an explorer and hunter, working for the Smithsonian Institute for the last 30 years. Even when told simply, his background seems fantastic, even horrific. First, I'd want to emphasize that the cavern is practically inaccessible. The entrance is located 1,486 feet below the canyon wall. It is on government property, and no visitors are permitted under the pain of trespass. The scientists want to operate in peace without having to worry about curious or relic seekers disturbing their findings. A journey there would be pointless, and the tourist would be sent elsewhere. The account of how he discovered the cavern has already been told, but in a paragraph, he was alone on the Colorado River on a boat seeking minerals. He saw stains in the sedimentary structure around 2,000 feet above the riverbed, 42 miles up the river from El Tovar Crystal Canyon. There was no track up to this point, but he made it with tremendous effort. The cave's opening was located above a shelf that obscured it from view from the river. There are stairs leading from this entrance about 30 yards to what was the river level when the cavern was occupied. When he saw the chisel marks on the wall inside the door, he grew curious and walked inside, securing my revolver. During that journey, he returned several hundred feet down the main path until he reached the crypt where he found the mummies. He stood up and photographed one of them with a flashlight. He collected a number of antiquities and transported them down Colorado to Yuma, from whence he delivered them to Washington with information about the finding. Following it, the explorations were carried out. The readings. The main hallway is roughly 12 feet wide, tapering to 9 feet at the far end. The first side passages branch out to the right and left approximately 57 feet from the entrance, along which are a number of chambers, roughly the size of conventional living rooms now, but some are 30 by 40 feet square. These are accessed by oval-shaped doorways and vented through the walls into the pathways by circular air gaps. The walls are about 3 feet 6 inches thick. The channels are chiseled or hewn as straight as an engineer could design. Many of the room's ceilings converge in the middle. The side tunnels at the entry run at a sharp angle from the main hall, but toward the back they gradually turn right. Over 100 feet from the entrance is the cross hall, several hundred feet long, in which is located the idol or image of the people's deity, seated cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. The face cast is oriental, as is the sculpting of this grotto. The idol resembles Buddha, but experts are unsure of what religious devotion it symbolizes. Taking everything discovered so far into account, it is conceivable that this devotion most closely reflects the ancient Tibetan people. Surrounding this idol are smaller pictures, some with extremely lovely forms. Others with crook-necked and twisted features may be representing good and evil. Two enormous cacti with projecting limbs stand on each side of the dais where the deity sits. All of this is carved from marble-like hard rock. Copper implements of different kinds were discovered at the opposite corner of this cross hall. These folks obviously understood the forgotten skill of hardening this metal, which chemists have been attempting for decades without success. On a bench that ran around the workroom, there was some charcoal and other material that was most likely utilized in the process. There is also slag and mat-like material indicating that these ancients smelted ores, but no evidence of where or how this was done, nor of the ore's provenance, has been uncovered so far. Among the other artifacts are vases or urns and cups of copper and gold, fashioned quite beautiful in design. Enameled ceramics and glazed vases are among the pottery pieces. Another path leads to granaries similar to those seen in Asian temples. They contain a variety of seeds. One extremely huge storehouse has yet to be explored since it is 12 feet high and can only be reached from above. Two copper hooks protrude from the edge, indicating that a ladder was connected. These granaries are rounded because the materials used to build them, he believes, are particularly durable cement. A gray metal is also discovered in this cavern, which perplexes the scientists since its identity is unknown. It has the appearance of platinum. Cat's eyes, a golden stone of no great worth, are strewn around promiscuously on the floor. Each one is etched with the Malay type's head. The hieroglyphics on all the urns or walls above gateways and tablets of stone which were unearthed by the image are the cryptic hieroglyphics, the secret to which the Smithsonian Institute expects yet to find. The carving on the tablets is most likely related to the people's religion. In southern Arizona, similar hieroglyphics have been discovered. Only two creatures may be discovered among the visual texts. One is of the prehistoric variety. The tomb. The tomb or crypt where the mummies were discovered is one of the biggest of the rooms, with walls slanting back at an inclination of around 35 degrees. There are levels of mummies on them, each with its own hewn shelf. At the center of each is a little seat with copper cups and shattered sword fragments. Some of the mummies are coated in clay, while the others are wrapped in bark cloth. The urns or cups on the lower levels are primitive, whilst the urns on the top shelves are superior in design, indicating a later era of civilization. It is worth noting that all of the mummies studied so far have been male, with no children or ladies buried here. This leads to the assumption that the outside part was the warriors' barracks. Among the finds were no animal bones, skin, clothes, or beds. Many of the rooms are devoid of anything but water containers. One area, about 40 by 700 feet, was most likely the primary eating hall, since cooking implements were discovered there. What these people ate is unknown, however. It is assumed that they migrated south in the winter and farmed in the valleys before returning north in the summer. The caves might have easily housed up to 50,000 people. According to one idea, the current Indian tribes found in Arizona are descended from the cave's serfs or slaves. Undoubtedly, individuals who attained a high level of civilization lived here many thousands of years before the Christian period. The timeline of human history is riddled with gaps. Professor Jordan is ecstatic about the discovery and thinks they will be of immeasurable importance in the archaeological study. An Indian legend. It is interesting to note, in conjunction with this narrative, that the Hopi Indians have a myth in which it is stated that their ancestors formerly resided in an underworld in the Grand Canyon until there was a disagreement between the good and the wicked, the people of one heart and the people of two hearts. They settled down near the Pisesvi, also known as the Red River, which is now known as Colorado, and cultivated maize and corn. They sent a message to the Temple of the Sun, in which they asked for the blessing of peace, goodwill, and rain for people who shared the same goal. That messenger never came back, but even to this day, at dusk, it is possible to see the older men of the Hopi tribe standing on the roofs of their homes and staring toward the setting sun in the hopes of spotting the messenger. When he returns, their lands and their historic home will be returned to them in their entirety. That has always been the practice. 8 years of research is still insufficient to unravel the mystery of the Grand Canyon discovery. After 8 years of investigation, I've discovered a lot of resources and material, but is it enough? That is determined by the beholder's perspective. He believes he has the region limited down to within a 2-mile radius, and he believes it may be the correct location. This location is located many miles downstream of the Lake Powell Dam on the Colorado River. This place corresponds to the Arizona Gazette description, and he feels he has the exact location since the East Canyon walls are held by the Navajo Indians. That's all for this video. Let us know in the comment box what you all think about the video. Like and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.